guys, it's Bree with Califia Candle Company. Happy New Year! And today's video is going to be a voiceover style video because my husband's doing some work to our house and it's a little bit loud. Here's some quick before and after photos for anyone that cares of some work that we've done to our house so far. Still a work in progress, but it's come a long way. Today's video is just going to be a random kind of come along with me while I work video. I'm working on restocking all of my candles for my signature collection. So that is what I've been doing the last couple days. And here are some candles that I made last night. As you can see, the wax pulls away from the sides of the jar. That's just something that happens with a concrete jar because it's so cold. So I'm going to be going over all of these with a heat gun. And it just smooths everything out. And as you can see, I've already done it on this one here. It just fills in that outer perimeter so there's no gap. You definitely don't have to do this step. I just like to do it because I'm a little bit OCD and I like everything to look perfect. But if you skip it, don't worry, your candle's not going to fall out or anything. If you are going to do it, one tip I have is once your wax starts to get into that liquid state, you want to pull back your heat gun a little bit and not have it so close because it's going to start splashing that wax around and you don't want that staining your jar, getting everywhere. So that's the one tip I have, is just to pull back your heat gun a little bit once it starts to get to that liquid state. Here I'm just giving the wicks their final trim to 1/4 of an inch. I give them a rough trim before I heat gun the tops just to get that good chunk off so it's not in the way. But once they have set again after I've heat gunned the tops, then I just go in and trim them to 1/4 of an inch. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably already seen this, but I wanted to show you guys this thoughtful gift that my husband got me for Christmas. It's a map of the United States and it came with these little pins so you can pin which cities you've sent packages to. And I just thought it was such a sweet gift and I cannot wait to add more pins to it for this year. Now we are moving on over to the computer and I'm going to print off my labels to label these concrete candles. And I like to print as I go, mostly because I feel like I'm always playing around with my labels and I don't want to print a bunch and then end up changing them and then I just have wasted labels. So I usually just print as I go and I don't mind doing it that way. And if you've seen my labeling video, then you know that I design all of my labels in Canva and then I use Online Labels Maestro label designer to print them out. So that is what I'm doing here. I'm printing some of my labels for the Ola Vista candle. And I did recently just play around with the fonts on that. So again, I'm glad that I don't print a bunch off at once and it just saves more labels that way for me. And the printer that I use, I'll link it down below if I don't have it already linked in my description box, I forget, but it's a Canon Color Image Class laser printer and I really love it. I think it prints really well and it is laser, so you just have to change out the toner cartridges, which I actually just did, and I bought this in February of 2021, so those did last me 10 months, which I think is quite a long time, and I just feel like it ends up saving you some money rather than having to switch out ink cartridges. So it's a really great printer. I've had no complaints about it thus far. So again, I'll link it down below if you are in the market for a new printer. For labeling, I used to add my warning label and the little silicone bumpers on the bottom, like now when I'm adding the name label. But I actually recently started doing it before I seal my jars. And I don't know, I just find that it makes it feel like I have less to do after I make the candle. So I've been enjoying doing it that way. So now I'm just adding the name label to the candle. And I just kind of put it down in the middle first and then work my way from one side to the other, trying to get all those bubbles out. I found that with these jars, there's always going to be a bubble or two. It looks flat right now, but if you come back like the next day, there's going to be a bubble. So you just have to get over that it's never going to lay perfectly flat. I've also seen some people do kind of the tie around label where they hole punch holes in the sides and print it out on like cardstock paper and then tie it around with like a twine or something like that. I think that looks really cute, but I just don't mind having a bubble or two, so I just keep doing it this way. I am starting on the charcoal jars now. So I have two different color jars in my signature collection. I have the regular concrete and then I have the charcoal ones here. And to get this color, I use a iron oxide pigment off of Amazon. It will be linked in the description box below. And I just add about a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half per jar. I just kind of eyeball it. None of them come out looking the exact same, which is something else that I just kind of had to get over in this process. And now I actually don't mind it at all because I think it adds more to the handmade aspect, that you have something really unique made by hand. There is not going to be anything else that looks exactly like that one jar. But in the beginning, oh my gosh, I would get so annoyed when they kept coming out so different. But like I said, now I don't mind it at all. So I'm just cleaning off my wicks with some alcohol, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my wick stickers to the ends, and then I just kind of plop them in the jars for now, and then once I'm finished with this step, I'll go in and secure them to the jars all at the same time. I think I've mentioned in a previous video that the way I center these is just by looking at the little dot at the very bottom of the jar. If you use the Modern Craft Labs molds, there's usually the little dot on the bottom of the mold that gets imprinted in the jar, which makes it perfect for centering your wick. So that is what I use, and then I just push down really hard with my fingers to make sure that is stuck on there. And then for centering it, I just use these centering devices from Design House, and they are not a perfect fit, but also, like I've mentioned in a previous video, I like them, and I don't mind that they don't fit perfectly. They actually work quite well for me, so I just stick with them. I also have those little chip clips, those neon colored things sitting there. Those work too. Sometimes you have to eye it really correct with those to get it centered. Sometimes the wick can be off-centered using those. So that's why I prefer the Design House ones. And while I'm doing all of this, I'm still waiting for my wax to get hot enough. This wooden wick melter, I liked it at first, but then I realized how long it takes to melt your wax, and not a big fan. It takes hours to get my wax over 200 degrees, which I need because I use coconut wax. So not a big fan. I actually bought a XL Presto pot that I'm going to make with the spout. So that's kind of my next project for actually my husband to do. And cannot wait to use that because this thing just takes forever, and I'm a pretty patient person, but man, I lose my patience with it. So I do not recommend this melter if you're considering it. I did contact them about it, and they were kind enough to give me a refund, and they said I must have gotten a faulty one, but I don't know. I've seen other people have the same problem, so I do need to make a couple tins as well. So that's what I'm doing here, is just adding my wicks to my tins. And this little centering device comes with the Design House stabilizers. So it, again, does not fit perfectly in these tins, but I can make it work and get it pretty centered, so I don't mind it. I thought I was done with my regular concrete jars, but I forgot I had 3 to pour of my Del Mar candle. And for that, I used Iced Vanilla Woods by Midwest. And you get to see me spill it here. Oh, so sad. That was like probably $2 worth of fragrance oil. And I spilled it on my cheat sheet, so I had to rewrite that. But I like to have that nearby so I can easily reference it when I'm measuring out my wax or my fragrance oil. That way I just don't have to write it, every time I go to make candles. And that is for 9% fragrance load, which has been my go-to lately. I used to use 10, but I've knocked it down to 9, sometimes 8 for heavier fragrances. And I really haven't noticed it affect the hot throw at all. So it saves you a little bit of money. So I recommend trying that if you're using like 10% or higher. Sometimes you don't need that much. Next, I'm measuring out my wax, which is a blend of Coconut 83 and SP 487. And then once I get that all measured out, I'll immediately add in my fragrance oil and stir for about 30 seconds. With coconut wax, you don't need to stir for 2 minutes because it's heated to such a high temperature. It doesn't take as long for the oil to bind with the wax. So stirring for 30 seconds is plenty long enough. And then I actually wait for it to cool down quite a bit until I pour it. And that's just something I found through trial and error. With the concrete vessel being so cold, I found that pouring at a cooler temperature just works better for me. So I typically pour between 150 and 160 degrees Fahrenheit. And then I'll let these guys set and repeat the same process we did in the beginning of the video, and they'll be good to go. Here is the final result. All my concrete candles are labeled and ready to go for restock. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you wish to see more videos. And I hope you guys had an amazing holiday season and New Year. I cannot believe it's 2022. I feel like 2021 just flew by. Anyway, I wish you guys the best of luck with this new year, and I cannot wait to see what it has in store for everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys soon.